Who is in the best 23 for Geelong this year? The Zero Hanger team, we've made our call and we're going to break it down for you line by line. But before we do, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have plenty of footy content coming out this year. So with all that being said, let's get to it. Best 23 Geelong. But before we get into it, don't forget that ZeroHanger.com is the #1 independent AFL news source for all your AFL news, trades, draft content, and now games. Check out our latest game, AFL Streaker. Test out your footy stats knowledge and see if you can get your name on the leaderboard. All right, so here to break down the best 23 for Geelong for 2025. His boys, Mitch Keating, AFL Chief Editor. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Very good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so Cats, I'm not going to talk about their age. I feel like their age gets mentioned every year. But is their list in a better spot right now than it was last year, at the same time last year?
Yeah. Well, I guess when you bring up that question, everyone's going to jump to that point in like their experienced players and the reliance on them. And we certainly saw a shift away from their older guys last year. Not saying that, you know, their most important players aren't above 30 when you look at Tom Stewart and Jeremy Cameron, but Max Holmes takes out the best and fairest and Ollie Henry comes along pretty well. They've got a lot of good guys still in that mid-20s range. And then they bring in a player like Bailey Smith, who's certainly going to add a lot for them. So I think they are in a better position than they were last year. Whether that means they're going to go as deep as they did, I probably wouldn't have them as a top 4 side saying that though. So it's kind of an interesting, season for them to enter this year.
Yep. Baslenka. All right, let's get to the defenders. All right, so fullback line, Tom Stewart, Sam De Koning, Jake Kolajajny, Lawson Humphries, Jack Henry, Zach Guthrie on the halfback. The probably more interesting thing there, so Tom Stewart, Sam De Koning, they obviously played a little bit of midfield last year, so are we expecting them to stay in the back line this year?
I think for De Koning's sake, I certainly hope so. I didn't like the ruck move, not to say he did a poor job, but I think, you know, he's best suited down back. They have Mark Blicavs as that backup option, and those two could be interchangeable as a ruck defensive duo, and that might excite some, but I think Reece Stanley takes the reins to start with. Hopefully they get good legs into Toby Conway, and he plays eventually. But yeah, I would like to think that De Koning's playing backline this year. They've also flagged he could play forward, but I don't think they need that either. Tom Stewart, on the other hand, I'd like to see a balance. I liked him in midfield, and they just found great areas in his game again outside of the backline. So I think both of them in this best 23 scenario for the season ahead. Yeah, both in the backline.
Yep, pretty straightforward. All right, let's get to the mids. All right, so the main man in the ruck for the Cats, we're going with Reece Stanley, followed up by Max Holmes, Tanner Bruin, and Bailey Smith in the middle. And then on the wings, Brian Myers and Ollie Dempsey. So let's start there. So Ollie Dempsey and Brian Myers on the wings.
Yeah, well, obviously two players who are probably more accustomed to playing forward. But Brian Myers has been sensational for them as a lot further up the field. And I think Ollie Dempsey can do pretty much the same. Have them, you know, working with Sean Manor, who can also play across those front 2/3 as the wing options. You know, they lose Zach Tui. I don't think Cam Guthrie might be fit or have the legs for it this year. And similar could probably be said for Mitch Duncan. I think those two are probably just a bit further down in the pecking order than what they've been used to, obviously, in recent seasons. But yeah, I like the idea of Myers playing a bit further up the ground, mixing it with the midfield, and Ollie Dempsey, same, just can break away, be a really clever player where the ball's won. And then with that spread and that run, give them a bit of a difference on top of the attacking six that they've got. So like they might not be the wings full time all year, but like to see both of them getting further up the ground for sure.
Yep. And Baslenka straight into that centre spot.
Yeah, it's pretty juicy having him come in, add to Max Holmes. You know, you throw your Paddy Dangerfields, Tom Atkins, Jack Bowes. They've got a lot of nice moving pieces there, and 12 months time could have Matt Rao by the sounds of it. So it's looking a bit better. Yeah. But importantly for them, it's they're not relying on the same names they have for the past few seasons, and Max Holmes is really going to step up this year again. And he'll have some nice competition from Bailey Smith for sure.
Yeah. All right. We're doing best 23 for 2025, mate. Don't get too excited. All right. Let's look at the forward line. All right. So the forward line, it looks a little bit different from past years, but we'll go with Ollie Henry, Jeremy Cameron, Patrick Dangerfield on the half forward, and then Tyson Stengel, Shannon Neal, Brad Close. So obviously Shannon Neal there taking the spot of Tom Hawkins.
Yeah, well, it's the role he pretty much held down for most of last year and had really, you know, promising returns from his 15 games, kicked 23 goals. I think he had a goal in each of those games, bar the preliminary finals to Brisbane, and just, yeah, added a bit of height as well, which was certainly a concern for some of the opposing defenders when you've got Jeremy Cameron playing so far up. Having Neil and Ollie Henry as those other two attacking options is pretty formidable, I think. And I think it's going to carry them through quite nicely this year. And then you've got those nice ground level threats. We already mentioned Myers and Dempsey, but you've got Danger, who will still probably play more time in midfield, but pretty nice to have him rotating as a half forward. Brad Close, Tyson Stengel, so dangerous both on the offensive end and with some pressure. So it's, again, one of the better forward lines in the competition.
And finishing up with the interchange, so Tom Atkins, Jack Bowes, Mark Blicavs, Sean Manor, and Mitch Duncan as the sub.
Yeah, probably a nice little mix and match group. Like Tom Atkins, a really good defensive-minded midfielder. Jack Bowes and Mark Blicavs, kind of both Swiss Army knife options that can kind of really just play anywhere on the ground. Sean Manor, as we spoke of earlier, nice little, pack forward. Kind of not packed forward, I guess, action packed forward with a bit of spark that he can provide in the front half. Mitch Duncan, yeah, I think we'll see less and less of him this year, just given the priorities that they might have with other players. But I think as a sub, he's going to be pretty helpful. What he can add halfway through a game, add in Cam Guthrie, Jai Clark, Jed Buse. They've got a few pretty decent options knocking on the door.
All right, so that is the full 23 for 2025 that we've selected. So usually when you're looking at a Cats list, I'm used to just looking at it and seeing a bunch of geriatrics. But this time, you're starting to see that we're less reliant on those sort of aging stars.
Yeah, well, I think you look at their backline, like take Tom Stewart out, and most of those guys are under 30, still probably in the peak, but plenty of football left in them. Midfield's the same, kind of turning towards your Max Holmeses. Ideally, Jai Clark comes along. Ollie Dempsey and Graham Myers push further up the field. And then the forward line as well, maybe barring Jeremy Cameron. You got your Ollie Henry, Shannon Neal, Stengel, Close, all these guys in their mid-20s as well. So, less reliance on those guys. Not to say we won't be seeing Blicavs, Dangerfield all having really key roles, but I think your Mitch Duncans, your Cam Guthries, Jed Buse faded out a little bit more across the campaign to come.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Mitch. And thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments what you think of our team, or Mitch's team, really. He's got all the responsibility of replying to the comments on this one. So.
I'm loving the feedback. Constructive more than anything.
We are loving the comments. So jump in that comment section. Let us know what you think. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed yet. We have plenty of footy content coming out this year. It's going to be a massive year here at Zero Hanger. And catch all the latest AFL news at zerohanger.com.